Okay,
So let's do it again.
So let's start this all over again. So if everybody can hear me, please go ahead and give me a 5-5. We stream on 10 different channels, so this is kind of crazy, but hey, no worries. This is all expected. This is what we always do. I just went ahead and kind of changed some things up and got everything back to where it was supposed to be. So if you guys can hear me good, please let me know. I'm kind of looking across this angle here. We're good, Vince?
Yeah, it looks good.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Good. And I can't see anything on the bottom here, so I got to pull this up. Man, why does it do that? I got a new computer, Lyn. And you know how these new computers are. Incredibly fast, incredibly sophisticated, but yet very archaic in how they operate.
Yeah, software could be that way.
That's right.
And they keep selling you faster computers.
Yeah.
But you don't work, the old one worked faster than you can. So
that's right.
What's the big deal?
So
keep the old one.
Let me do this all over again. And so Fred can go ahead and edit that part out later. Good morning, good evening, everybody. This is Conversations on the Fringe, live with you, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are here tonight with our special guest, Lyn Buchanan. And I'm going to pull up Lyn's bio here because it's a pretty cool bio. He's got 2 books. One is The Seventh Sense, and the other one is called Gravity Can Be Your Friend, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Lyn is a retired Sergeant First Class who served in the United States Army and is the founding member of the International Remote Viewing Association, IRVA. As a remote viewer, he served as a trainer in the United States Army Remote Viewing Unit from 1984 to 1992, and was directly trained by Ingo Swann, which I absolutely love this. He's also a database manager, property book officer, and executive director of Problem Solutions Innovations, and a controlled remote viewing training enterprise based out of New Mexico. Lyn, how are you doing tonight, once again?
I'm trying, like I say.
Yeah.
Can't brag, won't complain.
Fantastic. So you have an extensive history in what I believe was known as the Stargate project in the United States Army. This is kind of where the U.S. Army, they came out of this the Gateway experiment in the 70s, and they said, hey, we got this kind of thing that's happening here. We see these abilities of the mind. I'm wondering if we could recreate this and train this to people who have no psychic abilities. Right. And I believe it was Ingo Swann stepped up and said, well, let me develop the process and see what we can do. And so can you take it from there? What happened? How did this come about, and how did you get involved in it?
Well, they found out that the Russians were already using psychic spying and getting all of our secrets. Mm-hmm. And so when they found that out, a guy named Penkovsky tried to defect from over there. They found that out. Everybody had a good laugh, but the intelligence community doesn't tend to laugh at anything. And they said, well, if they're doing it, well, let's do it right back at them, And so they went out to Stanford Research. There were 2 laser physicists who were doing research on why it is that an experimenter's intent will affect that light beam, will affect and so they gave them the contract. They started working with it, and they found out that that you can do this in a constructive way. They hired Ingo Swann, and Ingo Swann said, well, I'm going to get it organized. And so he did. And when they proved that it worked, then the government came in and started the military unit and said, okay, we're going to use this to spy on the enemies, spy right back at them. And so that's what they started doing, and we had a good, successful run of it. The unit had been in operation for 10 years before I got there. Mm-hmm. And General Stubblbein, I was over in Augsburg, Germany. There was an incident where I got flaming mad over a program that was messed up by another sergeant, and he rigged it so that I would be embarrassed in front of all of the generals of 12 different countries, commanding generals, in a meeting, and that's when it rigged up, Yeah. And when it happened, he was standing at the back door of the room and mouthed, "Gotcha," like that. And I got flaming mad. Now, starting about age 12, have you ever heard of poltergeist kids?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was one.
Oh, God.
And they get a bad rap. The ones with mental problems always get the press, but a lot of kids can do that. And when that started happening to me about age 12, I started playing with it, seeing what I could do with it. And anyway, when I got flaming mad like that, the field station went down.
Oh, God.
A bunch of other intelligence operations in Europe went down and so on. And so General Stubblebine found out about it, and he brought me to Washington, D.C. to start a unit where we would destroy enemy computers with the final goal of controlling the enemy computers so we could make them do what we want them to do. And Congress said, no.
I bet they did.
Not going to fund that. Yeah. And so he took me out to this remote viewing unit. He had nothing to do with me after that, you know. I mean, he had everything to do with me. He became a good friend, but he had no plans for me after that. So he stuck me in this remote viewing unit. And it was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen. Huh. It was an amazing thing. And they trained me in how to do the remote viewing. I wound up years later as the unit trainer. And when I got out, it was still classified. So I started working with police departments secretly and with the government secretly as a civilian. And then it became declassified. And so people found out about it. And so now then I'm teaching the public.
Right. That's it's an amazing story. I mean, you go back to the history, you go to SRI. We had Dr. Dean Radin on last week.
Yeah.
And Dean Radin was
good.
over at,
He's good.
Yeah, he was over at SRI as well. And the two laser scientists for everybody out there were Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they bring Ingo on. Ingo goes and creates this, and then you come in and eventually become a trainer in the United States Army for this. But this is before this, you actually had operational experience with this in the U.S. Army. Are you able to talk about any of that?
No, I didn't have operational experience with this. Mm-hmm. I was a trained missile and rocket expert and also a linguist because I speak about 7 different languages. And so they were using me to collect intelligence on technological, try to put this so that it's not classified anymore. Foreign technological methods and production and research, and that's what they were using me for.
Gotcha. So you trained for remote viewing. You train people in remote viewing. Now, can you go over a little bit about what remote viewing is at its foundation? Because it's not necessarily, you don't have to be psychic to be a remote viewer. Anybody can remote view just with knowing this process. That's
right. The fact is that your subconscious mind has the ability to be trained to know things. Martial artists know this. They can get to where they're 100% aware of everything going on behind them or on the other side of a wall and all that through training. And so Ingo developed a way to do this, and he developed it sort of like an assembly line. You first of all get what's called the gestalts of something, the framework of something. And you sit down and you develop this physical method like a martial art. Much of it is based on martial arts, where you train, wax on, wipe off. Yeah. Water, you make waves. Land, you make a line. Man-made, you make a square and stuff like this. You do this for endless hours until it becomes a natural response. And then we can say to you, we have a picture in an envelope that's of a target. What's there? And your hand will automatically go,
right.
Oh, I don't know what's there, but I know there's water and something man-made. They open the envelope and there's a ship on the water.
Based on the symbols that you...
Based on the symbol. And then once you get trained in that, just like the martial art, then he takes you into ways where you can organize everything you're doing according to those major things you got. So you say, okay, now tell me about the water. Oh, the water's cold, it's choppy, it's salty tasting, and all this, you know. Well, you've just taken it out of the lake into the ocean and so on. And you say, now tell me about the man-made. Oh, well, it's pointed on one end, it's big, it's, you know, and all this. And you start describing each one. Then you go into what's called stage 3, where you start sketching it. Once you start sketching it, you have a sketch. And again, by using your body, you touch the sketch and you say, well, this thing that looks like a ship to me, I don't know what it is, but oh, right here, I think there's some drugs right here, you know? And we did this basically in Key West, Florida one summer, and were directly responsible for the seizure of over $52 million worth of drugs.
Wow.
In like a 3-week period.
Interesting. Wow. So, Lyn, you said anybody could be trained on this and has this innate ability to achieve some sort of results. Would you say that everybody has the same amount of
capacity
to make it happen? Thank you. Or
no?
Some people have the ability more naturally.
It's like playing a piano. Some people are better at it. Some people will never be good at it.
Okay.
But they can bang on the keys, you know.
So,
but the thing is that we keep data on every remote viewer. And can I share screen here for a minute?
We usually air it out, but we can try.
If not, I'll talk you through it.
Yeah.
We keep data, and we keep the different types of information that customers in the civilian world are interested in.
Okay.
And so we keep data on those viewers as to what they're good at, what they're not good at, and all that.
So a specialty kind of.
Somebody wants the color of a getaway car. I look in the database, and I find out which viewer is never wrong in the color. That's the viewer I ask to answer that question. Somebody who's not good at color, I won't even bother with them. But they may be good at shape. And so, okay, the getaway car, describe its shape. They will describe its shape and so on. And by using a team like that, and databasing, we can take viewers who have 50 to 70% accuracy, use them for what they're really good at, and come out with a product that's extremely accurate.
Highly accurate. So what would the average accuracy be amongst an average person if I took a random sample of 1,000 people or something along those lines? Generally
in the mid to high 60%. We took we did a 2-month-long research in the remote viewing unit and kept strict data on every single impression they got. And we had a 72.8% accuracy overall.
Wow.
Which meant that on some targets, we were 95% accurate. On some, we were pig slop.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Now, which ones did you guys find on the analytical side were pig slop? Was there a trend to it? Was it things that were submerged underwater? Were things that were in deep space? Were things that human beings had no conceptualization of?
No, it was rarely the target. It was almost always how the viewer felt that day, whether they were up to being totally disciplined or whether they were just, didn't care and things like that.
Okay. So there was basically, it was dependent upon not the target itself, but the condition of the viewer.
Usually that was the truth. Yeah. There were some targets that viewers, your subconscious will avoid. Blood and guts, dismemberment of tiny children and stuff like that. Viewers will tend to avoid those targets and not do well at them. Yeah.
Now, when you were talking there about the Gestalt aspect of this, it was quite interesting. I tend to get visions in my head, and I hypercritically analyze things. But I imagine that what was happening here is that you were training your subconscious mind. So you have your subconscious mind, which is connected, I would say, to the universe, if we want to look at it like that, in this expansive level. And that your subconscious mind is continuously communicating with your conscious mind, except we've lost that ability to do it as human beings. And so what you're doing is you're kind of existing in the state of non-imagination, the state of just kind of stillness and calmness and not trying to think, where your subconscious mind, you're trying to capture that communication from the subconscious mind and attribute it to some type of neurological pattern, thought, concept, or idea in your mind. Is that kind of correct?
There's the secret, yes. Your subconscious is going to talk to your body, not to your conscious mind.
There it is.
Everybody wants to, and get the word or something like that. But it doesn't work. But if you train your body like a martial artist, you can get to where if your pen goes like this, there's water there.
Right.
Okay.
Dousing, yeah.
And so even when you get into stage 2 and you start describing, instead of getting, it tastes salty, you will get a sort of a salty taste in your mouth because your subconscious talks to your body all the time. So basically what happens in a lot of psychic methods is they try to put the conscious mind to sleep or something like that, In CRV, which is what we used, in CRV, you keep your conscious mind active, listening and taking dictation and analyzing what's going on with your body. And when you do that, your subconscious sends signals to your body. Your conscious mind stays active, paying attention to what's happening to your body. And now, because you've trained, you know what it means.
Wow.
Huh.
It's really, one of the hardest things to teach about remote viewing is it's not hard.
Right. Well, back in 98 or 99, I bought Major Ed Dame's remote viewing course. Went through that back in those days. And just then I joined the military. And I'm like, please recruit me. I want to be in one of these projects, right? Yeah. And I never had anything exciting happen. Well, I saw a few things, but nothing too crazy. But I find this whole topic fascinating. Now, can you talk a little bit about the types of experiences that you've had and that you know of with remote viewing and kind of like the weird and the strange and the wacky ones?
Do we have a week to do this long?
We got as much time as you want, man. We got as much time as you want.
Oh, yeah. There are things that happen that are way beyond weird. And like I say, your subconscious talks to your body reacts. And so there are times when you get so involved in what you're doing that you quit paying attention to the room around you. And all of a sudden, you see the target, you feel the wind on your face, you feel the sun on your face. You cannot tell you're not there.
Yep.
And first time that ever happened to me, they had given me the pyramids on Mars. And
I like this.
I found myself in a sort of a hallway that had sand all over the bottom. One of my things is I take my shoes off when I view. It's just a habit.
Right.
And so I was feeling the sand under my feet. I walked to this entrance, this opening, and I leaned out, and there was this sloping sort of dirt wall going up the side of this building. And I looked out, and it was just ice cold. The sky was dim. The sun was out. The sky was dim, and it was a strange color. And I could see these things out on this plain out here. And so when I got back, I sketched it and all that.
Yeah.
And I guess about 6 months later, I was out at a certain place in California, and they were involved in the space missions and all.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the picture of the face on Mars was still classified.
Mm-hmm.
And they can read your license plate through 250 miles of air and clouds, okay?
Yeah.
You can't tell me they can't see a mountain,
Right.
okay? Well, they can see a mountain. And here was this picture, and I looked, and here was this pyramid, and here was this face thing on Mars, and the pyramid had a little opening in it. And I thought, been there, done that, didn't get a t-shirt.
Now, Lyn, I got a question about that. When you're in that state and you're in that experience, is there any conceptualization of time?
Yeah, if this is called controlled remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is a conceptualization of time. And interestingly enough, most people who learn remote viewing will get to a site and they see it and they start visualizing it or whatever and hearing it, and it's static, a static moment.
Mm-hmm.
A monitor can say, okay, move through normal time and describe. And all of a sudden, time progresses normally. Also, we found out that like the conscious mind works present time.
Right.
Okay. The subconscious mind can move through time it does that in your dreams and all that.
Non-local.
Doesn't matter. And so we found out that if we tell a remote viewer, tell me what happened at the Kremlin yesterday, they can do it. They can do the remote viewing, and they'll have a amount of accuracy. But if we tell them, mentally move to yesterday, now tell me what is happening, present tense, you get the subconscious and the conscious working together, and all of a sudden you get tons of information that's more accurate.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. It's little things like that we learned over the years.
Yeah.
That
Well, I was always wondering, when you're at the pyramids, I'm curious, was that at the pyramids in current time, or was that maybe 3,000, 4,000 years ago? The reason I asked that is I know Pat Price, who was, worked with Ingo and all those guys. There was one occurrence, and this was in Russell Targ's movie, where he envisioned, had this complete replication of this area, of this one target, and he was wrong. And then months later, they find out that he was actually right, but the area was from 70 years ago.
That's right.
And so
we have found that you will tend to go to the time that is most interesting to you. Well, at a subconscious level.
Yeah.
So,
Nuts.
a very difficult target is the attack on Pearl Harbor. Is Pearl Harbor the day before the attack?
Oh, I see.
Because you're automatically drawn to the most interesting thing, the planes and bombs and all that. 9/11, 30 minutes before the first plane hit. It's a very hard topic, very hard to view, because you're automatically drawn to the most exciting thing. Yeah.
Now, does that happen because of the connection between the physical body of where the subconscious lays and the direct emotional connection to those specific events, and that those emotions that were expressed there, kind of in the sense of the global collective consciousness, kind of absorbs you into that specific time frame? Is that kind of what they're thinking's happening there?
You're talking theory here, and nobody agrees. You'll get one person to say yes, and another person says no, it's your subconscious, what's is interested in. Another one says, the universe has more energy here, and magnetic energy, and you're drawn to it, and it's all theory.
Gotcha.
What we know is, from keeping data, is that almost always tends to happen.
And so there would have to, obviously, if there is a way to even have most of that data unclassified and look at it in a very hypercritical state, we could probably determine that, but you'd actually have to do it in a real-term context. So that's quite interesting. I find that fascinating that you're able to connect with that.
Now, let me say, though, that you get a well-trained and well-experienced viewer who is disciplined in what they do. You can give them 2 minutes before the attack on Pearl Harbor or the 9/11, and they'll get it.
Wow.
So it's generally people who are not trained and experienced, who haven't learned how to do it. By the same token, you ask somebody to go into Saddam Hussein's mind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Saddam Hussein was flipping crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was crazy.
He thought he was Nebuchadnezzar. Thought he was a reincarnated Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people have said that, yeah. And so you have a novice remote viewer go into their mind. They may bring back some of that craziness into their own life.
Oh, wow.
And it can be bad. One time when I was a beginner at this, pretty much, I was tasked to do this foreign leader and get information about his plans and intentions for the next day. And I did. And all through the session, I just had this feeling there's something I'm not getting here, and didn't know what it was. It was a Friday afternoon. And so I was driving home. I lived 2.5 hours from work. Wow. I was driving home, and I was planning what I was going to do this weekend. And I said, I'm going to wash the car, mow the lawn, call my wife. I'm going to do this other stuff, do this other stuff. And I thought,
the hell?
What?
Yeah.
And I went back through it.
Oh, shoot.
His wife died under mysterious circumstances that nobody has ever solved that weekend.
Oh, my gosh.
And, I would never have killed my wife.
Right.
But there it was in my mind. And you really have to be very careful with this, because when you remote view something, you don't know what you're going to absorb. This is why I tell everybody, don't do this on your own. Get training.
Right.
Okay. Hey, wow. Lyn, so you mentioned the beginning of this with the Russian spies getting technology and using these types of methods. Is there anything that has been done to prevent people from eavesdropping, if you will, by anybody that's been proven to be effective in any way, or things that have been tried or experimented with?
A lot of people, a lot of natural psychics try, and this put a shield around you of golden light and all that. Doesn't work.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, but it doesn't work. We did develop ways to baffle any remote viewer who would do something. In fact, the Russians did too. The Russians started holding extremely high-level meetings in brothels and in carnivals because they knew that a remote viewer would be, or psychic would be attracted away from the meeting. Joe McMonagle, in fact, was tasked with doing that at one of those meetings. And he said, what I'm getting is this is a place of business where business is conducted one-on-one. And he pretty well missed the meeting, you know.
Yeah.
But
too busy in watching the scenery there.
Yeah, but there have been ways tried to baffle remote viewers, and in fact, you can baffle and ruin the work of 99% of the remote viewers. There are ways to do it.
Yeah.
But you, like I say, you get one highly trained, very experienced. No, there are no secrets that's safe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Fascinating.
Now, how many levels are there to remote viewing? We were talking. I think we got to 3 when we were talking about it. I mean, I kind of went change the topic. But so, how many levels are there?
There are 6 being taught to the public. Ingo made 8. Level 7 has been bandied back and forth and told to some people and taught to some people. When Ingo, I guess about 6 months before Ingo died, he called me and he said that he had developed through stage 18.
Oh, wow.
And that if I would come up and live there at his place with him to get all day instruction and all that, he would teach me up through stage 11. The only other person he's taught up through stage 7 is Tom McNear, who stayed with him, you know, but he was going to teach me up through stage 11. My mother was in the process of dying. My wife was sick, couldn't take care of her. And so I was not able to go. And then Ingo died.
Oh.
And so took it with him. Yeah.
Oh, man. And so can you a little bit extrapolate what it means by those advanced stages then? What that would actually entail? Kind of, is it something that you do with your body? Is it a feeling? Is it a place you go? Is it a meditation? Is it...
Ingo was extremely closed-mouthed about that. He never would tell anybody. He told us stage 8, but he never really said this could be taught to the public.
Right. Interesting.
But beyond stage 8, he never told anybody, not even us.
If I were to have a team of individuals help me with something, I need a remote viewing service, for example. Let's say I'm a government or I'm some sort of entity that needed that service. What would the end result be after you go through all the stages? What do I get? Do I get a report? Do I get a PowerPoint presentation or a one-on-one explanation or a review of all the data? What does the end result look like?
If you work with one of our groups, excuse me. Here's one where Beam of the Future control, and this research company was working on a plasma thing that they were using, and they were trying to develop, and it kept messing up. It kept cutting off and all that. So they asked us to look into it and find out why it was unstable. We had three, four remote viewers work on it. And we found out why it was unstable. We gave them this report with all of the results. And they tried it. They had a stable thing, and they went ahead and invented their invention.
Wow.
We had a we had a moon. We had a moon exploration company ask us to tell them what kind of housing would be proper for the first crews to go up to build housing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, what temporary housing can you have on the moon?
Yeah.
And so we sort of cheated on this. We told the remote viewers, move to the time when the temporary housing is there and describe. They described it as a piece of very specialized plastic that was stretched over a small crater, sealed, and then they put 16 pounds of air into it, sea level, and that provided a house, a living space for the people who were there to build the first living spaces. And if a little meteorite were to puncture a hole in that soft plastic, they had duct tape to go up and seal the hole. And it was some 4 years later that I was out at, I think I can say this, JPL.
Yeah.
And my friend out there said, I want you to take a look at a recent flyby of the moon and tell me what you see. And I was watching it and I said, oh, wait a minute, back up. There's a crater up there with a plastic bubble over it.
Yeah. I don't doubt it one bit. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So can we go back to Mars for a minute?
Okay.
Was Mars abandoned, or was there life there?
There is life there. There is life there, we got, and there was life there. The life is basically devolved into just mindless animals. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what we get. And, so your question about did I go to Mars present time or not?
Yeah.
The true answer is I don't know.
Right.
I may have gone to Mars at the most interesting time to my subconscious.
Huh. Talk to me about Titan.
Okay.
Can you talk about Titan?
Yeah. I was, first of all, I didn't know what I was viewing
Okay.
because they only give us numbers and say, this is target 230507. What's the answer? That's all we get. And I found this extremely cold place and these two beings that were conversing with each other. It was the most alien thing that I've ever come across. I've done a lot of aliens. This is the most alien I have ever come across. Their thought patterns, everything was so non-human, even non-animal, that all I could do was report what I was seeing and what I was getting. But there were these two beings there in a cave-like situation that were conversing with each other.
Now,
And that's what I got.
were they advanced? Did they have technology, or were they kind of like animalistic?
They were totally alien. I don't know.
Right.
Reminds me
There
of-
was absolutely no understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked animals.
Yeah.
I've worked aliens and all that. ETs, the ET bases that are here on Earth and all that. But these, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were.
Is beyond.
That reminds me.
It's awesome. I love that conceptualization.
It reminds me of
I'm sorry.
the limitations that people have with remote viewing, which is it comes to something so complex or unimaginable or something you can't describe. I know you've talked about just the importance of vocabulary and being able to utilize these techniques is paramount.
Surprisingly, the person who has a better vocabulary winds up being a better psychic. Not because they are better psychic, but because they can tell you what they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they notice nuances better. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
The reason. Well, go ahead, Jay. Sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna.
So you said earlier that you speak 7 languages.
Well, I did. I'm getting really rusty at it now.
Yeah. When you don't use it, you forget. Well, you just don't use it.
You live in the largest county in Texas, which is New Mexico. And
I got the joke.
You live out here in the desert. I don't speak Russian or Japanese out here very often.
Yeah.
Not Mongolian,
But I find that interesting because you heard them conversating or
Conversing.
You witnessed that conversation, and you didn't recognize any of the languages. So my question to you is have you ever seen interaction between non-human life forms where you understood what they communicated?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There you don't depend on language. You depend on like plans and intentions, purpose, emotions and things like that. Yeah.
So does it work in the sense of how human beings think? In this sense, you have audition and then you have visualization. So most people think or perceive things, at least some people perceive things in pictures, some people perceive things in words. When you're interacting with an animal or an alien or whatever it might be, is it very similar in conceptualization like that?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Now in my training, I got to use all the senses. I was trained to use all the senses, but yeah, it's like that. You whatever you're normally best at, that's what you're going to be best at.
Right. This is fascinating. So the reason I asked,
this is totally fascinating.
It is.
You are right. It's mine.
The reason I asked about Titan is because I've had certain experiences in my life. And one in particular was this meditation style that I went into. But I was in this trance-like state, and I kind of transcended. I went out of the ordinary. And I was in this area that you can't put into words. There are no words to even conceptualize it.
Yeah.
You can't.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. What you hear is not hearing, and you can't even explain what it is because there is no language. So
that's right.
What you said there really reminded me of that. It was this. It's beyond our conceptualization of what was happening there, and what they were, and what was going on.
This goes back to his question of have you ever had anything weird happen? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we had a viewer who's watching in the chat. They asked, so ask him about the alien bases here on planet Earth. Where are they?
There are many. The ones that Pat Price did, the ones that we did, and all that. There's one in northern Australia, Mount Zeal. One in Alaska, Mount Hayes, which has been pretty well closed down. The one in Alaska seems to be the entry and exit port for the planet. So when they come here from space, they tend to go there first and then go out around the planet. But there's one in the Pyrenees. There's one in Zimbabwe. There are many that are underwater. Basically, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but
You can say it. It's all good.
it's going to come out sooner or later.
Yeah.
Basically, the governments have given them reservations where they can stay and be away from people, and have made treaties. You stay here. Don't come to the White House lawn.
Right. Like you did in 52.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I was actually I was about 300 miles off the coast of Peru there, deployed with the Navy, and we had a few encounters with some UFOs that went USO. So they went from being airborne, high altitude, high rates of speed, to submerged under the water immediately when our helo got on top of them, and we had them on FLIR. And we watched them submerge. And this is circa 2004, 2005, around the same time that the other ships off the coast of San Diego caught the Tic Tac UFOs and that type of stuff. They were actually very much the same, the ones that we saw. And I've always looked at that area out there because that's just north of Antarctica. Obviously, if you go west of South America, there's just that blank whole quarter section of the Earth that's just water. And nobody ever questions that. Why
almost half.
Yeah, almost. Well, if you got to look at it as one quarter, right? Because the Earth is a globe.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It'd be 1/4 section of the globe is all water, and nobody even asks. That's a little odd. Like, and I know it's just swarming with you.
Yeah, you talk about a hiding place. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect hiding place.
By the way, Lake Titicaca has been shown to have an underwater one too.
There you go. And so for our friend out there, he's let's just say he has access to probably look at something though. It's like that. And I know he's probably that curious type. And he's skeptical too. He's like, I don't believe it.
The person who asked that question has access to those?
He might have access. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm nope, I don't. So he's in there right now. Are the aliens hostile? So do you think that the aliens are hostile? The ones that you've integrated, the ones that you've remote viewed, do you believe that they're hostile at all?
They had me do a paper once comparing and contrasting the psychic ability, this one special thing, psychic ability, comparing their psychic ability to ours. And I got access to all of these records and all that. Mm-hmm. And there's not us and them. There's us and them and them and them and them and them and them and them. And then, each one of them are here for a different reason. And what I found from going through these hundreds of records was that you can seem to separate them psychically into 4 categories. One is friendly and the other is unfriendly. In those 2 categories, those who are equal or lower psychic ability than us and those who are more psychic. And what I found was that the friendly psychic ones tend to come here for trade. The friendly and the equal or non-psychic tend to come here for trade. The unfriendly and the equal or non-psychic tend to avoid this place. They don't come here. For one thing, we have ways to shoot them down, and they don't tend to come here. The friendly ones who are more psychic than we are really interested in us developing our psychic ability. The unfriendly tend to want to just wipe us off the planet.
Right.
And I couldn't figure out what's the motivation in those 2. And this one incident sort of gave me maybe the answer. There were 3 guys camping by a lake. They saw this ET off in the UFO off in the distance. It came over them, and they watched it coming, and were talking about it and all that. Once it got over them, they froze, and they were abducted.
Huh.
And the thing that dawned on me was those that have the more psychic ability than we have it much stronger. But they don't have any range. They have to be right over you.
Yeah.
We can see across time and space like we can look across the room.
Huh.
If we develop our psychic ability like our friends want us to, when we get into space, we will be a major force in the universe.
Interesting.
Which is also why the enemies don't want us out there.
Now, I know Jay is going to ask this question.
Okay.
What are they trading? What do they come here to trade?
Those who come here for mainly trade for minerals and things like that. One of the people who's in charge of the technology transfer, I was talking to him several years ago, and I was out visiting him. He used to always say, "Hey, come see my new toys." And I asked him, "What are we trading them?" And he kind of laughed. He said, "We're trading them their own stuff back now." It seems that they are an old race. They have just basically lost, these that he's trading with have basically just lost their creativity. They're going on what always was. They trade us their old stuff. We take it. We do all kinds of new stuff with it. Now we're trading them their new stuff, their old stuff back in new format, and they're happy to get it.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, but basically they're here for materials.
Interesting. One of the biggest things people were talking about is that they trade DNA, they trade genetics. Been brought up a few times by others. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's fine.
However, I had an abduction experience.
Oh, really?
Many of the people in the unit did. And in this experience, it was basically a medical team. And I got to talking to the pilot. And the pilot said, I asked, "What are you doing here?"
The pilot
and
of the UFO.
he said, "A pilot,
the
of
pilot
UFO,
of the alien ship. So you got abducted. You're on this ship, and you come to.
I came to, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They tried to put me back under, and I got so interested in what they were doing that I didn't go back under. And so finally they just said, "Well, we can't leave you here." They took me up to the control room so they could watch me, make sure I didn't cause any trouble. And I got to talking, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said that they were a medical team. They only had 3 ships, and that they go through space and they get all kinds of diseases, and that we are antibody factories, and that they abduct us, inject their diseased tissue into us. We create antibodies, and then they come and abduct again, harvest the antibodies, and that's what they use for medicine.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, what are the implants you use?"
Wow.
And he looked kind of confused, and he said, "What implants?" And I said, "Well, these little glass-like beads and things that are left behind in people's bodies." He said, "Well, you people won't be still. The tips of our instruments break off." He said, "That's not an implant." He said, "The cells that are around that's what we implanted." And he said, "The tips just break off because you people will be still."
Lyn, so I've told this story a couple times that I suspect that I've been abducted probably most of my life. I've never witnessed it, but something that's very unique about me is that I don't get poison ivy. I've never hit all 3 of my brothers, which Josh is my brother, had chicken pox. I never got the chicken pox. And then Josh and I actually had this rare form of growth. It was a malignant cancer, but it was benign. benign. Yeah, excuse me, benign.
Don't curse us, Jay.
Yeah, right. But I've always I've walked through nettles before. I'm not irritated by them, and I always suspected that they did something to me that created these, because we just worked in a job recently, and it's been everybody got poison ivy, but me, right?
Doesn't get sick.
And it's always, nope, I don't really get sick.
I'm the same way. They used to send me to church camp a week before the kids came, so I could walk down the pathways and just pull the poison ivy.
Yeah.
It's never affected me. Yeah.
Nope, poison oak, poison sumac, none of them. And I've always suspected that. I kind of looked at it like I was a biological experiment to them. It wasn't that they were taking me, because I'm a big guy, right? Like, man, they got to work for getting me up there. so they're doing it for a reason. But that was always my reason.
I don't know. Maybe your great grandparents were Martians. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, you never know. I think we could talk to you for 5 straight hours. You're interesting.
Yeah, it's a wealth of information here. It's
my abduction experience, by the way, I didn't remember it for 25 years, and then remembered it by accident. I was a Methodist preacher. I was leaving the parsonage to move to a new parsonage, and it was night. The family had already moved. Something landed in the backyard, and I tried to get up and go see what it was, and I was frozen. I couldn't. And so then I had the abduction experience. The next morning, I found myself just standing in the empty house, not knowing where I was or anything. And so I forgot to go look in the backyard and see what had happened. And so I picked up the pallet, threw it into the U-Haul, and drove off. And from then on, for 25 years, it got to be very bad. I couldn't leave the house without thinking, I've forgotten something. I'd go back, check the lights, check the water, check everything else. Finally, one day, we were headed out for church, and I kept going back and back. And my wife said, have you looked in the basement? Have you checked the thing? Have you checked the kitchen? Have you checked the bathrooms? Did you check the backyard? And the minute she said, did you check the backyard, it all came flooding back.
Huh.
And I didn't believe it. By that time, I was in the military unit.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was just false memory, something like that. And so I gave that target to the remote viewers. And that's what they found, was me being the target person was in a house, was abducted and all this. And so I still thought, well, maybe this is telepathic overlay. Maybe they're just reading my mind.
Right.
About a week later, one of them had told on me, and I was up at the Defense Intelligence Agency up on the 7th floor, and the 2 men in black stepped out of a room, pointed in, and I thought they wanted to see if I was crazy.
Yeah.
They didn't. They wanted to know about that control panel on the flying saucer. And so I explained what I'd seen and all this. And the way they do it is they ask you about 10 different questions, and they mix them up, ask them in different sequences and all that to see if you trip yourself up. By the third time they asked this one, I explained it again about how to work the control, how it was worked. And you got to understand, the men in black, one is an interrogator, professional interrogator. Mm-hmm. He's there to ask questions, get answers. The other one is from the unit that hired the interrogator. He sits over to the side and never says anything. When I explained this about the third time, the guy sitting over to my left slapped his legs and he said, "So that's it." Oh. And all of a sudden I realized he's got one and doesn't know how to fly it.
Ah.
And I went grand, and the interrogator just got steaming mad, and within 20 seconds they were gone, and I was sitting in the room by myself. So that sort of said, well, maybe there's some truth to this.
Yeah.
But a year later, I was out on a mission and came across this old Army buddy I had. He said, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, well, I can't tell you. What are you doing here? I can't tell you. Yeah. So anyway, he got my clearance level, took me out to where he was. There was a hangar. There was wreckage all in this hangar. They were piecing mid-air collisions back together. And we were walking through there, and he was telling me how they did it and all that. And I looked down, and here was a panel out of the UFO. And I said, that's out of a UFO. And it echoed in this hangar. This major came out and kicked me out. I mean, you know, and so anyway, with that, I finally believed maybe it wasn't a false memory.
Right. Absolutely. That's crazy. So
That's so cool.
I want some cool experiences like that, man. Jeez. So
Watch out, the Chinese curse me, you live in interesting times.
that's right. Well, I think we do live in interesting times. There's a lot of interesting things happening these days. Do you think that the military or even in the intelligence agencies that they are still doing these projects internally to the military, or are they at least utilizing them in a contracted state outside?
I keep hearing rumors of both. The fact is that when you retire, they quit telling you things.
Yeah.
And so the honest answer is, I hope so, but I don't know.
Gotcha.
The other way of answering that is they would be stupid not to still have it, which changes the question to, does our government ever do anything stupid?
Yeah.
Wow. Perceptually or clandestinely, right? how we perceive in this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to me about, you got a question, Jay? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
So it sounds like you still do some remote viewing.
Sorry?
Do you still do remote viewing?
Yeah. You practice, you know, it's practice. If you don't practice, use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, have you ever remote viewed on the possibly the future of America?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't answer that. Wouldn't ask that. Back in 1998, I was tasked to remote view the future of America up through 2050.
Wow.
In that session, I still have it, by the way. In that session, it says that beginning in the year 2020, there will be a series of man-made natural disasters. The first of which will be to separate people. They will, you know, the cities will start emptying out. The schools will empty out. People will homeschool. They will have all of their communication with each other, visiting with each other over technology and all that. And anyway, it went on to kind of detail what was going to happen. And according to that session, and I hope I'm wrong, okay, I'm very willing to be wrong. By the year 2040, over 75% of the world's population will have been killed off.
Mm-hmm.
And starting about 2040, the governments will also have been pretty well killed off. Government then would be for the people, not for the politicians or the companies or anything like that, because people would be creating their own food. in this, I got that they would be creating their own tools. I didn't know how, because at the time I did this, there was no news out yet about 3D printers.
Right.
And so anyway, but that we would be an agrarian society, and that life for the survivors would be beautiful, would be pleasant and beautiful, except there would be no close contact among people.
Interesting. Sounds like a great reset to me.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing.
And, you know, the earthquakes, tsunamis and things like that.
Floods and fires. Yep.
The Russians have already announced that they have earthquake weapons that can cause an earthquake anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Geological Society, U.S. Geological Agency, what is it?
Yeah.
USGS.
Yeah, USGS.
Anyway, they have already come out and announced that the volcano on the side of La Palma Island in the Canaries is going to fall into the sea. They're just not sure when. It's already separated by 5 feet. 15 cubic kilometers of that mountain is going to fall into the sea. When it does, it will destroy everything on the east coast of the Americas up to about 25 miles inland.
Wow.
The tsunami will. And the U.S. Geological has been denying this for years. Now they've officially come out and said, yeah, it's going to happen. We're just not sure how soon.
I'm kind of speechless on that one. I was like, man, let's go, America. Let's go to 2050. Let's be happy. And yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, if the Russians cause an earthquake in La Palma,
yeah,
New York City's toast. Washington, D.C.'s toast. Florida's toast.
Well, and it's even interesting more, too, because right now, all over the planet, we have, we have fires, we have mudslides, we have tsunamis, we have hurricanes. It's like just natural disaster after natural disaster, but we can honestly say, and I think this is a lot that what we do on this, we do a lot of research on our other shows, is that the majority of these are not natural disasters. It's a statistical anomaly for these to be natural disasters. These are things like HARP and weather modification and space-based weaponry that are creating these types of things.
Yeah, not only that, but, you know, the drought in the Southwest has been severe, and floods in the east, of the U.S. Nobody is talking about the fact that Dubai has already sucked all the water out of their ground. Mm-hmm. Now they're sucking water out of Arizona, and our water table that's covers most of the Southwest.
Yeah, the Colorado River.
Underground. Mm-hmm. They're sucking that water out at the rate of about 3,000 gallons an hour, and have been doing so for 10 or 15 years. And we're going dry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a natural disaster that is man-made. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's stopping it because there's big money in it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what are you going to do? But Dubai is causing the Midwest to dry out. The sun causes high pressure that sends the moisture from the coast and the heat from the coast and all that up into Canada, back down into the eastern U.S., dumps all the water, and they're flooding. And yeah, it's a natural disaster, and it's man-made.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there was a story recently of Dubai even doing weather modification to get rid of.
They had a drought
because they had a heat wave.
Yeah, they had a heat
drought.
wave.
Yeah.
So they made it rain in their area.
Yeah. Good, they made it rain. They can quit sucking our water out.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we actually saw it here. We were outside one day and we saw high altitude, plane and turned on its engine, started pumping stuff out of the back end. They expanded
The
out.
chemtrails, yeah.
Yep, expanded out an hour later. And it was clear skies, by the way. A few minutes later, the sky was full of clouds. An hour later, thunderstorms rolled in, and it just started downpouring.
Well, a guy named Cliff Carnicom has actually gotten samples of that stuff they're spraying, and it's not just contrails. It's not just condensation of water coming out.
Right.
Condensation of water will disappear behind the plane. These trails go all the way across the sky. They start coming down. You can take time-lapse pictures and watch them settling down on the Earth. They have in them micropulverized aluminum, micropulverized barium, and once they start hosing the sky, they're over some area, there may be a couple hundred in a day, and the sky you can't see the sky anymore. And you track that.
Chemtrails.
The load of gastrointestinal and breathing instances that go to the emergency room will sometimes triple a few days after that.
It's interesting they use kind of like malleable, lightweight metals, barium, aluminum, this type of thing. Because really what I think is actually happening there is kind of what Nikola Tesla was actually talking about by the utilization of the ionosphere. Everything in the sense of our electrical system, or how the electrical system of the planet works, especially the weather aspect of it, is electrical in nature. And so if you just create a variation between the ionosphere and the stratosphere, what you're going to do is you're going to induce a high pressure system to be induced up there, which means the moisture from other systems are going to be pulled up into that one area, and now you're going to have weather or rain at that matter. And you can actually manipulate that with certain voltage variations to create variations of different types of weather, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado or a drought or whatever it might be.
Yeah. The problem with it is not the materials itself, but the fact that it's micropulverized.
Yep.
If it's micropulverized and it lands on your skin, it can be absorbed into it.
Yep.
When you absorb aluminum into your skin, it causes dementia, Alzheimer's, and stuff like that. When you get the barium into your skin, it causes gastrointestinal problems.
The heavy metal detox, guys. The heavy metal detox.
Yeah.
Lyn, we got about 15 more minutes left, and I know everybody wants to know, because I know Jay, Vince, and myself, we were just talking about it before. Talk to us about the lottery.
About what?
This was cool. So before we went live, Lyn was telling us about the lottery. It was kind of cool. So I want to get his perspective on remote viewing the lottery. This was actually really genius.
Oh, okay. Remote viewing, the remote viewing that we used in the military really sucks at it.
Yeah.
It's not good for it. Numbers are very hard to get. And so they have a guy named Steven Schwartz came up with the idea, and it's been tried in many different ways, and it works in most of them. Since numbers are extremely hard to view, you keep a database, you find out what a remote viewer is good at, like sounds, okay? And you tell them, you make out a list, and you say, if the number on the first pick 3 ball for the pick 3 lottery is a 1, let's use taste.
Yeah.
Okay. They're good at taste. So if the number is a 1, 30 minutes after the lottery ball is drawn, I'm going to give the viewer some chocolate. If it's a 2, I'm going to give them some salt. 3, I'm going to give them some vinegar. 4, I'm going to give them some soda pop,
right?
Something like that.
Coffee astringent. Yeah.
5, some cotton candy or whatever. Okay. Now, you don't tell the viewer that they're working the lottery, because they don't care what they're working.
Right.
What you do is, let's say the balls are picked at 7:30,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to hold them 30 minutes. At 8 o'clock, I'm going to give you something to taste. You ask the remote viewer, move to 8 o'clock tonight, and tell me what you are tasting. The salt. I know what number is going to be in the ball.
Right.
And that's called associative remote viewing.
Yeah.
You associate something easy to view with something hard to view. You view the easy thing, and you know what the hard thing is.
Associative remote viewing. We're gonna have to try an experiment, Josh.
Oh,
Next
week I'm gonna be $100 million richer. You guys are gonna be like, I can't believe it worked.
One time, I've had ARV classes here, and I always take people up to the Indian casinos. And one time, we had a guy break even. The rest of the people who went up came back with more money than they went.
Oh, nice.
At an Indian casino, you don't win.
Right.
You're there to support the tribe. But there was one student that I taught the ARV to, and he called me some months later and said, I just won the pick 3 lottery. I won $250, And a couple of months after that, I just won the pick 3 lottery twice, and never heard from him again.
Oh, wow.
And so at a conference one time, he was there at the conference, and I asked him, hey, how's that ARV doing? And he said, I don't do that anymore. And he very quickly turned, walked off to the parking lot, got into his Maserati, and drove away.
Oh, God.
And we have an analogy. You find a gold ring buried in the backyard, you're going to tell everybody about it.
Right.
You dig a little deeper and you find a chest full of gold.
You don't say anything.
You don't say anything.
You don't know nothing.
I don't know nothing.
I don't know. Yeah.
So
when can I start your class?
Well, we'll talk about that here in a second. I wanted to actually ask Lyn something about this. So you had a history of manipulating computer systems. Now, obviously, this is more of a psychic type of telepathic connection with electronic devices. Obviously,
I had a history of PK, psychokinesis.
Right.
Now, when I get mad, really angry, things break, things fall off shelves and all that. This one time over in Augsburg, Germany, I had developed a computer program that would tie the computers of 12 different intel organizations together and let them talk to each other. This other sergeant wanted the job of doing it, but I got the job of doing the programming. And he had slipped in and set it up so that when I was making the demonstration, the thing would fail. And so I did my little song and dance, pushed the enter button to start the computer program, and it failed. And here are these commanding generals from 12 different countries, and they all, the stupid American, And I turned around, and this other sergeant was at the back door of the room and mouthed, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
I got flaming angry. When I did, the entire field station went down. A couple of other intel stations went down. And the amount of time that we had no intelligence along that border is still a classified thing.
Right.
Anyway, General Stubblebine, the head of the Intelligence and Security Command, got wind of it. He took me to DC to start a unit that would destroy and control enemy computers. Congress said, not no, but hell no,
right.
Not going to do something like that. And so
That's how
He
you
had
got.
no
Yeah,
other
that's how.
plan.
That's how you got started in the remote viewing.
That's how I
there.
got started in the unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a quick question about that then. Can that be a learned trait? Because you go to the casino, you got these random number generator type slot machines, which are computer programmed, hardware based. You go in there. Are you able to do things to them? Are you able to manipulate that in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious.
The roulette wheel ball is the easiest. Yeah.
Ah. Now, are you able to? So you can pull that roulette wheel ball to the position.
I only do it to red and black.
Okay.
And I've done it 44 times in a row successfully. And then I decided, okay, experiment is over. I'm going to bet.
Right. Oh.
I laid down a bet and lost.
Right.
Oh shoot.
Well, it's different when you have that emotional connection to the outcome.
Well, not only that, but I was raised Southern Baptist. You gamble, you're going to hell.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I think my subconscious said, I ain't going to hell.
Yeah, there's a psychological, emotional connection to that as well. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, Lyn, what do you have coming up here in the future? Do you have any training classes that we can get involved in? Any online courses that we can get involved in? Because we got a big audience that's really interested in this.
I'm teaching completely online.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 years ago, I died, and they revived me.
Oh, wow.
I died 11 times, and they revived me, and finally, I got a pacemaker put in, and it's keeping me alive. And I'm having more and more episodes of AFib. I got this measured the other day, and they said in the last 6 months I've had 583 episodes of AFib in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I catch COVID, I'm toast.
Right.
You know, it's over. And so I'm not letting anybody in the house. I'm teaching only online. And if you go to my website, I have 2 courses up now and another one about to go up. One is ARV course.
Mm-hmm.
The other is the basic CRV course. And the one coming up is going to be the intermediate CRV course, the intermediate level for the basic students who graduate from that.
Gotcha.
And those are online. My website is crviewer.com.
Yep.
CRVIEWER. And also on my website, there are practice targets.
Oh.
And I don't track anybody. I don't believe in tracking people. They're there. You bring up, it's called Target of the Week.
Yep.
And you can work these targets and use the date that's on the target as the coordinate for it. Practice using it, see what you get, and then go back to that date, bring up the target, look at it, and judge to see how well you did.
Huh.
Cool.
And if you did poorly, you don't have to tell anybody. If you did well, you got bragging rights all you want.
That's really cool.
I'm looking at the targets now. I'm like, okay, which one am I going to do?
We'll explore it. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at that, and we got the link for your website going out all over on all of our chats now. Looks like everybody's sending it out. It is linked up below. Lyn, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening for this last hour.
Well, hey, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed this. I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, we enjoyed talking to you. We're going to definitely have to have you back on. I absolutely love this.
I'd love to talk to you more.
Yeah, absolutely. You're amazing, and just a wealth of knowledge and a legend in the field of remote viewing. So it's so happy that you joined us tonight.
I've been doing this for about 35 years now. I should know a little something about it.
But
I still believe we're studying the human mind.
Yeah.
We're still in kindergarten. We really are.
I agree. Absolutely, 100% agree. For everybody out there, if you are a Fringe After Dark member that is a Master Patron or a Patron Plus above, we'll be going to our Zoom chat in about 30 minutes. You guys can find all the information for that was sent out in the email prior to this show. It's also on the Social Red Pill, our private social network, if you can check it out there. If you're interested in more information on that, you guys can check me out. Hit me up with a message, and I'll point you in the right direction towards all that. Don't forget to go check out Lyn. He is all linked up everywhere below. Remember, that's www.crviewer.com, crviewer.com, and get into those courses. I know Tumultuous Dimitri, one of our hosts, he is definitely going to be jumping into your course. I almost guarantee it. He is a big remote viewer, and he's really big in this topic.
Oh, good. Good.
Lyn, thank you so much, my friend, and we're going to definitely see you here very, very shortly. Everybody else, much love. God bless. Take care. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you very much.